Welcome back to Travolting Presents Easy Ryders. Hosted by Jeff Sweeney and Stuart Elmore. Covering Square Dance. With special guest, Matt Abalde.
All right, now grab your partner, do-si-do, swing them around and don't let go.
Don't let go.
Honky
tonk in Texas, the honky tonk in Texas, honky tonk in Texas.
All right, now that everyone's closed the app.
My rate as a guest has gone up now.
Oh my lord!
It's now from $0 to $200.
$200, the Venmo's coming.
Matt, I really know how much we're like setting the tone when I hear your voice, because I know you're always like our first guest, and I just love how it's like how quickly it takes. You're always the first guest on the second episode. I realize.
Yeah,
right?
Because usually the first episode is a nothing thing for that actor,
right?
And then
you get.
I wanted to do Carrie.
Right.
Which was what started it. And then I was like, oh, it'd be funny if we just keep doing that.
Yes.
And I had seen Encino Man growing up, so I was like, Encino Man. And then I was like, I guess this.
Was that Fraser's like second movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
No shit.
If it wasn't his second, it was early enough that Matt was the first. And it is now like a perennial. Okay, Encino Man was his fourth.
Okay.
And then Carrie was Travolta's
but he's
second.
Background in like the first two movies.
Yes.
Yeah. Got it. Okay.
So it is decreed now, third time the charm, that Matt is perpetually the first guest.
This is gonna go poorly at some point.
At some point, we're gonna talk about the worst thing ever.
And that day is today.
Let me look at some hypotheticals. Like I'm gonna look at some.
I feel like we're dancing around the subject here, guys.
We're square dancing around the subject. I'm not going to listen to hypotheticals if they're not exciting. But yeah, Matt is back to welcome us into another series.
Hi, yes, it's me, Matt. I am Matt. I am...
Are you appalled?
Yeah.
I've been wanting to make that joke for 5 years. I'm so Looney Tunes.
I'm here in person this time.
Yes.
It's crazy. I'm seeing you in the flesh.
We've been doing this podcast for so long that Matt has moved states across the country and is now in person with us.
During the time that this happened, when you told me, I was still living here.
Yes.
When you told me about Travolting, then I moved to LA. We did the first episode with me.
Yes.
Then Adam moved to LA. And then I moved back.
It's stupendous.
We're, of course, referring to Adam Campbell, former guest of the show, who always has exciting philosophical thoughts on the
Go
movies.
listen to his trees bit on Phenomenon.
Yeah. But yeah, in person, here to talk about a movie. Quickly, welcome back to Easy Ryders. Of course, the only show in America covering every single film of Winona Ryder's filmography. Thank you for listening to our episode last week on Lucas.
Is that actually true? We're so early in the podcast, I never checked.
We are definitely the only one airing right now. I have not seen any others.
Okay.
If we get some,
this is the first podcast to watch all of John Travolta's filmography, all of
Brendan Fraser and Winona
and
Ryder.
now all of Winona Ryder's.
I'm gonna go into my podcast app
because I knew when
This
we
is the
started
top-
Travolting, the only thing I could find was there was a Travolta Cage podcast. I guess shout out to those guys who are doing that. I don't know if they surely aren't doing that anymore. It's been years since I checked. Fraser, we are definitely not the first ones. Well, we might be the first, but we're not the only ones. Not anymore, at least.
Yeah.
There was a podcast that started like months after we started Fraser, and we always kept like a few months lead on them because I don't think they're every week. I could be wrong on that. I hope they're not listening. Well, I hope they are. I'll get some notes, some tips. Get better, boys.
Look,
No, they seem like nice guys.
All
Yeah.
that matters is that this is the #1 rated podcast starring
In America.
Jeff Sweeney
Yes.
and Stuart Elmore that happens in this living room.
At this time of day.
We've been recording so long that we have moved recording spaces.
Yes.
That's true. A pandemic happened. And,
A pandemic.
and theoretically ended.
A pandemic happened. Well, that was before the podcast, I think.
We started it during
2021, right?
We started recording January 28th of 2021 because we were both unemployed.
I love that it
And
means
then-
so much to you.
And then you
memorize the
guys
date.
were both gainfully employed. And then
almost immediately after.
Yeah.
And then no longer employed.
And then now no longer employed.
And now employed by...
Not going into it.
I don't want to go into that. No. Just go shop at your REIs.
Like Stuart said, we do appear to be square dancing around the subject here, which is that we do have to talk about the movie Square Dance.
So here's my first fun fact about Square Dance.
Yes.
About 90% of the crew, I checked. I like opened IMDb, looked at every single
my God.
every single link for this movie is purple for me on
Yes.
IMDb. About 90% of the crew would go on to work for on RoboCop
Excellent.
and then would never work in Hollywood again.
What?
Wow.
What?
Wow.
I'm going in.
He's
I'm
going
opening
in.
it up.
Wait, so like why?
I don't know.
Wasn't RoboCop a hit?
Yeah. I think it was a lot of the people who were on this were old.
Oh yeah.
Like I know the PD died in like 1992.
PD.
The production designer on this film died in
gotcha.
1992.
Well, and I know the director of this died in like 2004, I want to say.
Yeah.
And he was, I guess, to step a little bit into context corner, the director of this movie had been working for a while, but always TV. And it's no accident that this is, while not technically listed as a TV movie, it's a TV movie. Like, this is a TV movie. I know it's like, okay, there's some technicalities, but like, this movie, like, screened at Sundance, and then, like, was never heard from ever again. And then it was aired on NBC in 1988 with a title change. This is basically a glorified TV movie. It's shot like a TV movie.
Matt, you were right. There's a shocking amount of crossover between RoboCop and Square Dance.
Yeah, right?
On IMDb.
Also, another fun fact.
Yes.
I'm going to waste my 2 fun facts real early. I am 2 degrees of separation away from this movie.
Really?
Really?
Because I forget who. There's someone on this film who worked on Last Action Hero. Last Action Hero, one of their set dressers was Gail Sonnenfeld. Was one of my professors at Columbia College,
Okay.
and who I also worked with on a commercial.
Okay.
So there's 2 degrees of separation between me and Square Dancing 1987.
It is, in fact, perfect that you got saddled
Yeah, right.
with this movie.
Oh my God.
Before we start talking, I'm just overcome by this RoboCop.
I would say it
combination.
comes all the way around, but it's a square.
Right.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Also, they don't square dance correctly in this movie.
No, they
In
don't.
fact, they barely square dance in this movie.
There's 2 scenes, and they're both not accurate square dances. Has any of you actually gone square dancing?
I did a square dancing unit in like 6th grade PE.
Okay, well, that's fucking great. Have you gone square
No,
dancing?
look at me. You think I've gone square dancing?
Look at me. Do you think I've gone square dancing?
You know how to square dance very well. I've watched you square dance.
Yeah,
I have a video on my phone of him square dancing. very well.
I've been square dancing.
And this is where it becomes a video podcast, and the video is inserted right here.
Yeah.
folks, go to the YouTube channel. By the time you're listening to this, I will have uploaded the video. No, I would not do that.
You can do that. I don't care.
No, it's
Well, it
less
depends
you
on-
and
it depends
it's less
on-
you and more the other people in the video.
Oh.
I don't think they'd want me uploading this video of them square dancing.
Jeff, if you send it to me, I
That's
can-
not square dancing.
Okay, is this not
That is the Cotton Eye Joe dance, you fucking fiend.
Sorry,
It's-
Jesus.
That's the-
regardless, if you do want to upload it, you can just send it to me, and I can blur everyone.
Blur everyone out.
Yeah,
And we just have Stuart and like
and just a bunch of pixels around.
and then we have like a red arrow pointing at Stuart.
Yeah.
People see my face for the first time.
They've
That's
seen
not
your
true.
they've seen your face before.
They've probably seen my face before.
Remember that person who drew that picture of
That's
us?
right. Yeah. God, that was a while ago.
Yeah. Shout out
Well, I know what the picture they
yeah.
drew. It
Shout
was
out
my
that
Instagram
fan who
profile
drew that
photo.
fan art of us. That was really cool.
That was
we've
really
shouted you
cool.
out before, but time to shout you out again.
I think we're really doing it because we want another one.
Yes.
Please, we'll commission. Actually, we won't. We're both unemployed.
We'll gladly, if you do anything,
Yeah.
let us know.
But that is the Cotton Eye Joe dance, respectfully.
Okay.
But I have gone actual square dancing before.
I fully believe that you have.
Yeah.
I forget, Stuart, where are you from?
Indiana.
Okay, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
it makes
You,
so much
you
sense.
did not forget where I was from, Matt. I know you were just wanting to bring that out. Yes, I am from Trumpland, Indiana, Mike
Yes.
Pence origin story.
The 50th best date.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're better than Florida.
No. Florida has Disney World.
We have the dunes.
I went to the dunes and it gave me tremendous pain because you have to walk up a sheer sand pile.
You just gotta hike a different trail. You went to the Cowles Bog Trail.
Yeah, because everyone's like, it's the best trail.
It is the best trail. I'm sorry, you're.
They said moderate activity level, and I'm walking up like a 90-degree slope.
It is moderate.
All right. So before we dance our way into the square, we should check back in because, as I mentioned in our last episode, I'm reading this Winona Ryder biography in sync with the movies.
Yes.
And I wanted to catch us up between Lucas and Square Dance in terms of her life at this point.
Question.
Yes.
Are you reading up to the point of the movie you're about to cover and then you put a bookmark and stop?
Yes. I mean, I read through like the movie's production.
So there's going to be a moment where it's like you're like halfway through the biography. It's like, man, her life seems like she's really going on the up, and you flip one page, like, oh no, oh no.
Well, for this one, I read through it till the point where it says her next when she met director Tim Burton,
right?
And then I was like, close.
Yeah.
But so we're checking back in with her after Lucas, which she was a supporting character. She had 8 scenes in that movie, roughly. Yeah. But she does get very positive notices out of it, like I said.
The only subject of our podcast whose first movie she is not background.
Yeah. Not background, and kind of gets her start off of that movie.
Yeah.
Because Travolta and Fraser did not get their start off of Child of Darkness or the Devil's Rain.
Devil's Rain.
We should watch. I want to watch the Devil's Rain again.
I kind of want to watch the Devil's.
The movie's so good.
We're filming this on September 26th. It's almost October. I feel like it is the season.
It is time to watch the Devil's Rain again.
Yeah. I agree.
Good luck to you guys.
Matt, you should watch that movie. It's William Shatner in a small western town being like, no, it's the demons, and then like Travolta's dressed in hoods and he's like dragging him into like a lava pit or something.
What is it? Ernest Borgnine?
Yeah, Ernest Borgnine is the cult leader.
As the cult leader,
Right,
and then
what if we pause the recording right now?
Watch
watch it and then go talk about that right now.
No, we got a square.
I love it. Was the best possible movie we could have started the podcast with, because I remember like it wasn't 30 seconds into the recording you were listing off the credits and then paused and said, technical consultant, high priest of the Church of Satan.
Yeah, that's in the opening credits of the movie. It credits the high priest of the Church of Satan.
Excellent.
So you're watching the good stuff.
And it's where Travolta got the book Dianetics.
Yes, it is.
I mean, come on.
But we're not talking about him. We're talking about Winona.
I know, but it's just interesting comparing like origin stories.
Yes. So out of Lucas, we talked about how she got positive notices for that. But she gets some reviews out of Lucas, which people are like, she steals every scene that she's in. A naturally winning presence. Very interesting look. She was notoriously very shocked to suddenly be in movies.
Yeah.
And she kind of took a bit of a step back after Lucas came out. And it wasn't until she got a phone call from the director of this movie, who saw the movie opening weekend. Lucas didn't make much money, but this guy is one of the people who went to go see it.
One of the folks.
Daniel Petrie. And he's like, that is the main character for this movie, Square Dance, that I'm working on.
Yeah.
Square Dance, which is based on a novel by Alan Hines, written in 1984. Immediately, shortly after the book's release, purchased for production by NBC through Island Pictures. Daniel Petrie sees Lucas, calls Winona, is like, I want you in my movie. About a year goes by between the start of production on this and Lucas's release, roughly.
Yeah. Lucas released March 1986.
I'm sorry.
July 87.
They filmed this the summer of 86. There's a year between the filming and release of this. What I was thinking of.
Yeah, that makes sense. That tracks.
Because she films Lucas in the summer of 85.
Yeah.
Releases early
Spring
86.
86, yeah.
She films
March.
this summer of 86.
Yeah.
Releases early
Summer 88.
Summer of
87.
87.
Yeah. One movie a year.
Yeah, she's
Very
basically
very
working one movie a year.
Healthy for a kid.
Yes, very healthy for a kid. She does not miss any school for either of these movies. They filmed during the summers.
Yeah. That is kind of an interesting thought. I never thought about that before.
Yeah.
She's doing her summer job is to be an actress.
Yes.
That's kind of dope.
It's cool.
Yeah.
She was home. I think she was back in school at this time. She kind of, as we talked about, she was bullied and went homeschool for a
back
little
in
bit.
school from being homeschooled by her parents.
But I think she starts going back to normal school around this time.
Okay.
Just for the more social aspect of it.
Yeah.
It's her first leading role. She is objectively the main character of this movie.
Yeah.
Daniel Petrie, director of this, basically saw Lucas and said this girl has a naturalness to her, an interesting you're very compelled by her whole personality.
Yeah. She just has a captivating look.
Yeah, captivating look.
And I feel very comfortable saying that from just seeing her in Lucas.
Yes.
For even as an okay, weird, not in a great movie as a Lucas was.
And though this movie, we'll talk about at the end, doesn't really have much of an impact in the larger sense.
Yeah.
It's major for Winona. She kind of credits this movie with the rest of her career, both because it's a leading role, but also just that the skills she develops in this movie. Because she's mostly working with two... I'm not going to talk about Rob Lowe yet.
You're not?
She's mostly working with Jane Alexander and Jason Robards in this movie.
Yeah.
Playing her grandfather and mother, who were two veteran actors, been around for a while. Love Jason Robards. And she kind of, to this day, still calls them her acting school. They were the people who taught her how to act for film.
Yeah.
She essentially credits Robards with being natural in front of the camera. Because I even talked about with Lucas, she has a lot of walks in and then doesn't know what to do with her body, even if she's doing the lines well.
Yeah,
she's kind of stiff. She's very free in this movie, and she credits Jason Robards with kind of teaching her how to just say the lines like a normal person would instead of feeling like she's acting on a stage, which is where her background was in.
Yeah,
she credits Jane Alexander with teaching her how to act or survive in between shots. Because she comes from theater where you're just always working.
Yeah.
She was very restless on Lucas, and for the first half of this production, just kind of sitting around waiting. She's like, I'll sit there and think of how I want to do the scene, and I just want to do it, but they have to light for another hour.
Man, so she talks in depth in the book about this experience.
Yes. Wow. About this, how important this was for her. And then Jane Alexander's like, here's the exercises and how you can work with your scene mates in between your setups.
Yeah. Not to stroke off the actors here, but it is definitely something worth mentioning about the differences in their acting style that they have to adapt to over theater. Yes. Right. In theater, it's just a pure adrenaline run all the way through, muscle memory. You just you don't think, your body just does it. But in this, it's it's a 30-second shot and then you're sitting on your ass for an hour.
Yes.
And then another 30-second shot and then sitting on your ass for an hour.
And she, I said last week, but she's, a believer in kind of...
not rehearsing.
Yeah, right? Not rehearsing natural acting.
Yeah.
Instinctive, that's the word I was looking for. Instinctive acting, where you don't really prepare what you're going to do in a rehearsal space. You kind of work it out in your head, the emotion of the scene.
Yeah.
And then see what your body does.
Yeah.
When you go into it. Yeah. With those emotions that you figured out.
I bet she's probably very interesting to watch in blocking rehearsals.
Yes.
To me, it means she's probably just reading the lines, but she'll walk the motions that the director is saying, but not much anything else.
Yeah.
As opposed to, we all probably have heard and met of those actors who seems like in the blocking rehearsal, they're locked in. They're locked in right away and go 100.
Yeah. She doesn't want to waste the energy.
Yeah. Robert Pattinson's that way too. I think I've heard from just press. I've heard about The Lighthouse. Defoe's very rehearsal heavy, and Pattinson's very
instinctive.
Very instinctive.
And there's no correct way to be an actor. There's an incorrect way to be an actor, and that's called Jared Leto. But there's no correct way to be an actor. Whatever gets you.
Just a random Jared Leto take.
You got it.
I mean, Jeff's not wrong.
No, not at all. It's just, I don't know where it came from. I'm thinking Batman. Okay, so then the Joker. Okay, so Jared Leto.
We were talking about method, and I was thinking of on Suicide Squad where he mailed a dead pig to Margot Robbie and put used condoms in her mailbox or something.
That's not method. That's being a dick.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just simply ridiculous.
It is just insane. There's no correct way to be an actor. Whatever gets you to the performance is the right way for your acting style.
Right.
And this is the movie that really crystallizes all of those things from Winona. It's also the one where she learns about the technical side of filmmaking. She's very compelled to learn about how cameras work, how blocking works, how, lens choices affect your performance, how all these things kind of go into it. She's very in between these long setups, spending time with like crew members and cameras and director and trying to learn, how does a movie get made? Because in the last one, I just kind of walked in and said my lines. In this one, I want to understand this process.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm kind of,
No, this is compelling. This is compelling.
Because I think we're going to be very negative on this movie, is kind of the vibe I'm getting.
Well, I mean, the movie's bad, but she's not bad.
Right. Oh, no. Yeah. But I just wanted to start off with that, like talking about the good stuff, so that we're kind of free for the next hour to talk about the bad stuff.
What's the name of the actors of the grandfather and the mom?
Jason Robards and Jane Alexander.
Jason Robards and Jane Alexander.
Jason Robards, who's he is one of the Triple Crown of acting people. He's won an Academy Award, a Tony Award, and an Emmy.
Yeah.
He is particularly great in Howard and Melvin and Howard.
Okay.
It's a Jonathan Demme movie that came out like 10 years. Plays Howard Hughes in only like the first 15 minutes of the movie, and he like won an Oscar for it. He's so good. He's also Ben Bradley in All the President's Men. Just a very, esteemed actor who's been in a lot of stuff.
I was just going to say, every scene with Winona and one of those two, I liked.
Yes.
Very good. Very good chemistry.
That's the good stuff.
Yeah.
The bad stuff.
I did not mention the other
yes.
The other thing.
We'll
get to.
This movie gets one nomination.
It does get one Academy Award nomination.
Oh, Golden Globe.
Oh, it's a Golden Globe.
Oh, yes.
And we will talk about it when we get to it. It is a shame upon that institution, which is already shameful enough.
Wow. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. But yeah, you're right.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
So the thing that's funny to me about this movie is this gets credited by some as like the first movie in Winona's like playing the outsider run of movies, where she's like the lead, who's kind of the like Beetlejuice. She's she's the outsider. Heather's very much the outsider, and I think it's funny that is correct, but that the outsider in this movie is an outsider because she's like a staunch religious, like kind person in a world of sin.
Yeah.
I think that's very funny.
It also like it doesn't take center stage as much as in those other movies. Like obviously it is an aspect that's like really important, but like if we're gonna talk about the plot, there kind of isn't one.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to track the plot of the movie because it's just like we can say the three storylines and we can tell you how they end.
God, there really are just three.
I'm not sure if I can tell you what happens in between. But Matt, you came armed.
I did come
with
armed.
6 pages of notes.
I did come armed with 6 pages of notes. Apologies.
Oh, good.
I got a little far away from my microphone, and Stuart had to fix it.
Okay.
I will say about every like 3 or 4 notes is just a note about the editing being incredibly weird for this movie.
Yeah.
It's strange. What specifically caught you about that?
Okay, so very early on in the movie, this is like very much in my head. Because I did watch it earlier today just to like catch back up. I've watched this movie twice.
Oh my God. Why? Wow. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I mean, it is free on YouTube. Barring the copyright music
that
we're not allowed to hear.
The 2 times that happens, yeah.
It's almost avant-garde when the movie cuts out. You're just watching.
This is almost better. So there, right when, I guess I'm gonna spoil a little bit of plot. I don't know if I know the first few that we've done this. We just like told the movie. I don't know if that's still a thing that happens as much.
We'll kind of use that as the skeleton, but talk about what you got to talk about.
So early in the movie, we have her mom shows up, and first of all, the pacing in that scene is super awkward.
It is.
Like they hint that she's the mom, and then spend about 6 minutes not confirming she's the mom until she's like, "I'm your mother," and it's meant to like almost seem like the super dramatic reveal that it just. I made the comparison while I was watching this. I was watching this with a friend the second time through. I made a comparison to Transformers: Age of Extinction.
Let's go.
Oh,
Let's
no.
go.
Oh,
Because
no.
that movie does a similar thing where everything is said to you multiple times in ways that just like aren't natural, right?
Yes.
Like they very clearly are like, this is the mother, and then they have to also tell you this is the mother.
Yes.
In Transformers, they do that multiple times where they're like, they're shooting at us. Cut, 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 cut. They're shooting at us. Cut, 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 cut. We're shooting at them. You know,
Yeah.
it felt like that. And then,
Matt, are you questioning the writing of a movie that has the line, "Where's your warrant? My face is my
the
warrant."
yes, I am questioning. Yes, that is correct.
I'm an inventor.
But then, like, they're kind of playing out the scene, and then it does, like, the shortest cut to the mom's face, and then a cut to the mom driving away in a car, right? And both shots are just like not held long enough. And especially the car, it like starts to leave, it like does like a 3-point turn, and in the middle of like the third point it cuts to a completely different scene. We just don't see the car drive away. and the movie's just riddled with cuts like that, where it's like we start to see like what could be like a natural scene transition, but then
It cuts early.
it cuts early into another scene, and it just feels so out of left field the entire
Yeah.
time.
I'm almost curious because this movie is released in theaters, but eventually gets cut for TV. And sometimes when watching this, I was occasionally curious, like, is this the TV cut? We're watching the TV cut here.
It might have been.
It's certainly possible.
Yeah. I felt like there were some like weird, awkward, like commercial break moments.
But because I definitely did notice exactly what you're talking about, where this movie doesn't allow itself time to breathe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just the entire thing is so fast paced, especially at the beginning.
Yes.
Like you're giving so much exposition. They're setting up this whole like rural Twilight town thing, and then they're just like, oh yeah, they're kind of racist. The grandpa maybe is racist, but
Just
he's
a
definitely rude and mean. And then they're like, but Winona Ryder's not, so she's like kind of an outsider there, but she's also super into religion.
Yeah.
Her mom is also here, and she's from Fort Worth. And in case you didn't catch that, in that conversation, she says it 4 times that she now lives in Fort Worth. She's like, this is my address in Fort Worth. You could send me a Christmas card to Fort Worth. That's where I live now, in Fort Worth.
Here's a postcard of Fort Worth to show you the downtown.
Too much.
It is just strange that this is a movie where nothing happens and yet remains incredibly fast-paced. Like, I truly don't know how they accomplish that.
It is just like they gathered a collection of like 30 scenes and they're like, all right, pump them in.
Like, I think we go from Labro, is the thing I just said. Rob Lowe's introduction to them, like, discussing marriage in under 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is the energy of this movie.
And they don't give time for any relationships to develop at all, especially like with Rob Lowe, which we should talk about.
I'm dreading it.
Or with like the mom or the mom's husband? Question mark.
Maybe
They share a last name,
Husband.
but like
Yeah.
she's real loose.
this is real loose and is constantly like not fully with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. There were a lot of lines of dialogue that I was like, wait, what are they saying now? Like,
What is this? Who's this person? How are they related?
But like there's so many like character relationships that just like we see them first meet and now they have developed in the next scene.
Yes.
Right? Like they are like do you know how long she's in Fort Worth?
No, I
About
have no
2
idea.
months.
What?
She's in Fort Worth for about 2 months.
I had no idea.
oh my God.
This movie has similar energy to esteemed motion picture Gotti that we talked about in the show. Stuart, you knew I was about to say it. In which this, like, it feels like they didn't have the funding to shoot any of the exciting stuff, so they just shoot all the scenes in between the exciting stuff.
Yeah.
And then we're like, we're gonna go whack this guy, and then they walk, and the next scene is them walking in the room like, he's dead. Wait, what? What happened? We don't get to see the whacking.
I think
Angela died of a broken heart.
I think the like peak of action. There's just like 2 peaks of action in this movie,
Yes.
right? One's at the end, which we could talk about later. But like early on, I forget his name. Oh my
Beecham?
god, Beecham.
Oh my god.
Beecham dies.
Fucking Beecham.
Right, like we're led to assume he dies.
Yes.
But
Beecham
how
is
does he die is the question.
so Beecham is like a guy from Twilight who he's a black guy.
From Twilight.
Right, that's
Edward Cullen?
That's the name of the town.
Yes. I was making a bad Edward Cullen joke.
He, plays the harmonica and is friends with Gemma, Winona Ryder's character.
He also sings in the choir.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the church that she goes to.
And they're like buddy, but Grandpa doesn't like him.
Yes.
For reasons.
Even though they used to be best friends.
And they used to play the harmonica together.
Yes.
Valuable
stuff.
Then they're like doing some sort of like church retreat, like picnic thing, and like Beecham is just like at the bottom of like a little cliff, and all of a sudden just like a landfill just falls on him.
Because that's kind of what they made it like. They made it sound like I thought he was like picking for trash, and then a dump truck spilled more trash on him. Like I was very confused as to like,
I mean, they say that like someone basically opened the bed of their truck and like threw trash onto him, but like, and then a bunch of the people who are there start looking for him. They're there for like an hour and a half looking for him.
Right. And then they stop.
But like, that means that like that he must be under the entire pile of trash.
Bob.
They don't find him. Winona Ryder finds his hat.
And then it's like, oh, he dead.
Right. And then like his family appears on like the cliff, and they're like, you need to stop searching, girl, because like he doesn't matter, or like you shouldn't care,
like,
because
this
like
is the best burial because he ain't being buried in a white man's cemetery,
right?
Something like that.
It's the strangest plot development, because the clear implications Winona's disgusted that they give up on this guy, and like the racism in the town, so she goes to the big city, but they search for him for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And so it's like a very odd way to set it up to like all these white people are searching for him for 90 minutes, and that's the cutoff.
Right.
And that's the problem with yes, I understand like that is
like
still
if
racism.
If they search for 2 hours, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
Like it'd be fine.
Yeah, it feels like the movie's setting up.
They would search for 2 hours for a white person.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Now if they search for 3 hours, that's excessive. Come on, guys.
The movie's politics at this point are essentially like, we want to emphasize that this is a bad town, but not that bad. They look for 90 minutes.
Right.
Like, okay, what are we even saying here? What are we doing?
And it's a plot point that doesn't get developed on later.
At the end, Beecham's just back.
Yeah, he just is back.
Do they have a line that explains
Yeah,
it?
Homer, the grandpa, went back and looked for him and found him.
What? He was alive the whole time?
He was alive in the pile of trash.
How is he fucking walking?
And audiences, when we tell you...
That was 2 months ago, remember?
Oh, my... Bullshit.
When we say pile of trash, we do not mean like a pile of banana peels.
No, it's like TVs and fridges.
Cars and metal. And
it's like giant scraps of metal. And this guy's just like, yep, I'm all right. I'm good.
This movie...
But yeah, like they... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was say, like, for context of the audience, like, we all three of us watched it for free on YouTube, I'm assuming. And, like, did you guys watch it on, like, 360p, essentially?
No, I watched it on 1080p, which still looked like 360p.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this movie looks like it was shot on, like, a potato, because it probably was. The lighting is a thing. The sound is weird because there are a lot. You were mentioning this, Matt, about the editing, and I was also thinking like there are a couple scenes when they get in a car and they start driving, but then you can clearly hear it like transition to like ADR,
yeah,
or something, then it's like it's weird because I was always say like Winona and her in the movie, her grandfather, they have a good banter with each other and they have good performances. when it cuts to the ADR stuff, it's very clear that it's like they were either like not in the room together or this was like after production.
Oh yeah, it's awful.
It's just like really not good ADR voiceover for them driving, and it also just sounds very odd.
One positive thing about the sound, real quick, that I'll mention, there was a lot of diegetic music, surprisingly enough, in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, the what we could hear of it.
Right, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to go back to the beginning and just set like the foundation of the movie.
We're already in the middle of the movie, though.
I just want to explain who Jason Robards is because we keep talking about him. Winona in this movie is playing
Gemma.
She's playing Gemma. Who is a 13-year-old girl who lives in Twilight, Texas, with her grandpa. She calls Pop, played by Jason Robards.
Twilight, Texas in the movie would have you believe it's close to Amarillo.
Yes.
It's up by the Panhandle.
It's disrespectful. They have a town called Amarillo. They should call it Armadillo, which I'm sure there is an armadillo, but I digress. But she lives in this town with her grandpa because her mom ran off when she was very young, left her with her grandpa, and her dad, she believes, died in the war, which is Vietnam. They eventually say is Vietnam.
Yeah.
And so while her grandpa's like kind of is like a hard guy, he has her help him around their farm where he has chickens and various other things.
Yeah.
We don't really go too much besides the fact that he has chickens. That seems to be his main source of income. It's the eggs.
And she drives.
Yes, and she drives around.
And as a 13-year-old.
And it seems that her hobbies are going to church.
That's about it. Going to church and reading the Bible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which her grandpa's like, oh, forget about that.
How many times does she say in the movie that, in regards to Beecham, it's like, he's God's children too, Granddad?
Oh, so much. It's so Jeff, you touched on this. Like, it's so weird to have the outsider be like super into religion.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yeah.
And also have every single adult in her life just be like, why do you care about religion?
Yes.
For a movie in the 80s is
Right.
very strange.
Because here's the emotional political arc of this movie. It is about a young girl in a small town who's very religious, who believes that her town is racist and turning away from God. So she goes to the big city, where she discovers that everyone's a degenerate. And so she comes back to the small town and is like, well, I guess this is fine.
I guess I could stomach a little racism.
Yeah, that's essentially this movie's arc.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wrote that all the character arcs are a circle.
Yes.
Like, they all just end up right back where they were.
Yeah.
The only difference is that the grandpa is slightly less racist.
Yes. Well, man,
Slightly
you
less.
say the character arcs are a circle. I would say, what if instead of a circle, they were a square?
Just gonna jump off a fucking...
This is not the title of this movie about the square dances we all make in life.
Fuck off. Why does... someone should share why this movie's title is Square Dance.
Oh, because Grandpa likes to square dance.
And he shows Winona how to square dance in the beginning of the movie.
And then she shows Rob Lowe how to square dance
And then
at
he
like
cheats on her.
the middle of the movie. And then at the end, her and Grandpa square dance again while Beecham is playing the harmonica.
Yes.
Outside.
Yeah. They're inside and he's outside where
Let's make
he
one
belongs.
thing fucking clear. He becomes a little less racist, but not racist.
So, this movie is kind of pointless. It doesn't really, no one achieves anything.
But it sucks because,
Okay,
like...
so technically it does achieve one thing. Someone almost cuts their dick off.
Yes.
That is a thing that almost happens.
Rob Lowe does attempt suicide by castration in this movie.
Oh my god. For fuck's sake. Yeah. I was going to say it sucks because like Winona and like her grandfather and her mom, like I thought they were doing a good job.
There is a story there.
Yeah.
The movie is not that interesting.
And the performances are pretty...
I think all of the performances minus one are really, really good.
Yeah, they're all great. You got 3 great actors, and you let them do their thing.
Whoever wrote this should never be allowed in front of a keyboard ever again.
Well, it is written by the writer of the book, Alan Hines, who does not have a Wikipedia page, which implies to me you may have gotten your wish.
Yeah.
Wait, Alan Hines is the writer. I'm going to read you all the movies he's written. Tell me how many of these you've heard of. Square Dance, An American Place, In Sickness and in Health, Willing to Kill, Breaking the Surface, Too Close to Home, Crowned and Dangerous, When Husbands Cheat, The Familiar Stranger, Dangerous Child, Guilt by Association, The Interrogation of Michael Crow, Ambulance Girl, An Esteemed Career.
I've seen Ambulance Girl.
I've heard of one of those movies, and it's because I had to watch it for this.
I'm kidding. I have not seen
Ambulance Girl has Kathy Bates in it? Ambulance Girl looks good. We should watch Ambulance Girl. The story revolves around former food writer Jane Stern and how she conquered clinical depression after becoming a paramedic. Sounds good. I'd watch that.
Wow. Directed by Kathy Bates.
Oh, she directed it too?
She directed it.
Sounds good.
And it's not her directorial debut, though.
Stuart, should we do Master Bates, the films of Kathy Bates?
I'm shutting off the
I'm
shutting this fucking thing off.
Episode's already unhinged.
Yeah. Okay, so she decides to move to Fort Worth.
Yeah.
Well, because Beecham gets crushed by a pile of trash.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, you're abandoning him after 90 minutes.
No.
And yeah, she gets real uppity with Homer, her grandpa.
Yeah.
They have an argument. We also skipped over an important scene that I think we need to touch on just because of how irresponsible it would be. She's 13, right? She's driving all over the place.
Yeah.
They do an egg drop-off.
Yeah.
Right? And it starts raining and getting dark. The headlights in the car don't work. So you know what their solution is?
He's going to...
Homer rides on the hood of the car with a flashlight.
That does happen.
Down home Texas living.
That does happen.
That does happen. And then the whole time he's screaming for her to take them home, but instead she takes them to church.
Yes, and makes him... Does he go into the service? He does, yes.
Very briefly. He just walks in, looks around, and then leaves.
Yeah. She's trying to bring God to Grandpa.
And I have the note, he is too curmudgeon for Jesus.
If you can't bring God to Grandpa, bring Grandpa to God. What a twist this movie would be.
But her mom does come by and tell her, I'm in Fort Worth now multiple times. And I was like, you should come with me. And she says, no, I want to stay with Grandpa. And then Beecham's seeming death inspires her to want to go live with Grandpa.
Go live with her mom.
Or live with her mom, sorry.
Yeah.
In Fort Worth. And she goes home and has a fight with Grandpa about it. He's like, fine, you can go, but you're going to hate it. And I'm not going to be sorry.
I'll say, at about this point is when I first checked to see how much time was left in the movie.
Yeah.
Because I was like, surely we're in Act 2 by now. This was 20 minutes into the movie.
Yeah. Right?
It sets up a lot of plot, right?
Yeah.
A lot of plot lines, and then it just leaves them dangling. And it just doesn't... It leaves so much just loose ends that it never
picks back
up on.
At the same time, this plot point could have happened in the 10-minute mark.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So many nonsense things happening that I thought I was expecting there to be a whole movie to go.
Yeah.
Instead of 20 minutes.
Because this is when we get the first audio cutout due to copyrighted music.
Because what it was going to be, and we got confirmation, is she steps on the bus and you hear the do 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 do.
There's a map.
Do, 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 do. It's just a map.
Map of Texas.
Yeah. And of course, copyright. You can't use that.
It's kind of the most interesting thing in this movie, and it's not a choice of the filmmakers. It's just watching her travel across Texas in dead silence. Because she rides a bus, and then for some reason gets off the bus and has to hitchhike the rest of the way.
Yeah.
So she gets in with a truck driver.
Right. But real quick, I will say that like makes it seem like she didn't have enough money.
Yeah.
But at the end of the movie, she gives a bunch of money back to her grandpa. And she's like, I only got the money for the bus to Fort Worth. And
It's like, well, you clearly didn't.
Yeah, clearly not. So yeah, she hitches a ride with a truck driver
to a gas station.
That's a missed opportunity scene right there, because there's no dialogue with her and the truck driver. And I think if you're making a movie about an outsider trying to find a new space to live and grow and all that shit, you start with the truck driver scene.
Well, to be fair, the sound was cut out at that point.
So they might have said something.
Might have said something. I don't know. I didn't see any lips move. It sounded like
right. But do you think that would have stopped them from ADRing something on there?
No.
What if there was a whole ADR conversation over that scene that explains the themes of the movie?
Oh my god!
Like she's just in philosophical debate with the truck driver.
She's like, "So, how long are you working at Fort Worth?" 10 years. Oh, where are you living?
And he's like,
Fort Worth, you fucking dumb.
he's like, God turned away from me, so I turned away from God. And the whole time you're not looking at them. Maybe that's what happened. But she gets to Fort Worth at a gas station and finds her mom.
Right. And
she's greeted by her mom's
husband. I want to point out,
Frank.
At this point, this was the first point where I realized that the movie takes place in 1987.
Because of the gas station?
Because of the gas prices.
Oh, yeah.
I literally thought that this was like a period, like up until this point, because they talked about segregation and stuff, right? And someone made the comment that like in like a certain city, like they can't share bathrooms still.
Right.
And I was like, okay, so this must take place in like the 70s or the 60s.
Yeah.
Right. No, it actually does take place in
1987.
In 1987, because gas was 76 cents for regular. And that's how much gas was in 1987.
Wow. See, this is why we needed you here, Matt.
Right? Yeah. So
Matt was doing the research for this movie.
Yeah.
Discovering his degrees of separation.
Right.
That all these people worked on RoboCop.
And you're reading a book, and I'm fucking here. I'm working the mixer.
You're here, and we'll mention something about the movie, and you seem surprised, which was you think that you weren't paying attention for this masterpiece of cinema.
How dare you fucking call me out like that, Matt? How dare you call out my bit?
This is a hard movie to pay attention to.
Oh my god, I was falling asleep.
I paid active attention both times I watched this movie.
Good for you, Matt. So proud of you for that.
I analyzed the shit out of it.
You truly did. But she links up with Frank, who brings her to the hairstyling.
Do you have a window open?
No. That's just a loud siren.
I just don't know if that window's open.
No, it's just a loud siren.
I'm sorry, just a loud siren. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
Oh, but Frank brings her right to the... Oh, he brings her inside to meet the mom before they go to
they live in the apartment above the gas station.
Yes, because Frank owns the gas station.
Yes.
Right.
They live up there, and she meets her mom again.
Who we should point out, the first thing we see is she's like clamming around for her cigarettes, wearing nothing but like a robe and then a bra and underwear.
Yeah.
And like here's my biggest problem with this movie is that the movie's trying for me to make the judgment call that she's a bad mom. But let's just walk through what...
Yeah, she seems fine.
What like the last 5% of her scenes, then yeah, she becomes like a little bit of a bad mother when she's like, I should have never fucking taken care of you, all that shit. She has that one scene that's like, I'm you can't live here anymore.
Right.
But all the previous scenes is her being what I thought was being a good mom.
Yeah, she gives her daughter a free makeover at the salon she works at.
She teaches her how to do manicures.
Right. She changes her hair to like, and like that seemingly helps her confidence.
Yeah.
She does just tell her that she doesn't need glasses.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I can't see though.
It's like, that's fine.
And Gemma's like, I can't see without my glasses. She's like, yeah, it's fine. Just don't wear them, and your eyes will refocus.
But it's very clear, like, Jane Alexander's character, the mom, she's not religious, and yet she takes Gemma to church, and she even like at the end when they're walking out, they're even singing a church hymn together, and it's very clear to me that's like she clearly doesn't believe in that stuff, but she's doing it because she knows Gemma believes in that stuff. So throughout the whole course of this whole relationship of the movie's trying to be like, look at her smoke her fucking cigarettes and walk around half naked and all that shit. I'm like, bitches, like, I think she's a good mom so far. Like, you haven't lost me yet. Like I thought she was. I don't know.
Yeah, she's
it's fine. Like this is one of my big issues with the film. At this point, is like part of it is supposed to be this like cycle back to the countryside because like, oh, I went to this super degenerate place. It's not really degenerate for most of it.
It's not bad.
Like it gets kind of iffy at like the end, and like there's some relationship stuff with characters that we're getting to.
Yes. Desperately trying to not.
That makes me uncomfortable. But like I don't think that there's anything that like any reasonable person would say is like, oh, this is a reason to move back.
Yeah, because like the setup is that the mom was very young when she was pregnant, and she was not prepared for it, and she ran away from it, and now like truly wants to reconnect with her daughter.
Right.
And like she has no experience being a mom, so she's trying to figure it out. And maybe she doesn't do everything perfect, but like her storyline's kind of inspiring. It's like, this is great. She's like trying to reconnect with her kid. And yeah, she's not perfect at it, but who is? And the movie's like, she's a terrible mom. She needs to go back to the country with the dad, grandpa.
And what's also interesting is how they introduce Deborah Richter's character, who plays Gwen.
Yes.
And it's no accident that you have Winona Ryder playing Gemma,
yes,
the hardcore Christian Bible thumping, like very country girl, and then altercate that with Gwen, who's very free-spirited, city, young, kind of like goes out with like a bunch of different guys. And they're trying to make the comparison of like, look at what Gemma could have been, you know? Like, and it felt very like, felt a little judgy in the sense.
It felt really forced.
And there was a scene where it's like they're sitting at their apartment and they hear commotion outside, and Gemma's mom goes out, and it's Gwen being dropped off by one of her dates. And you think for a moment it's like, oh, he's a fucking dick and he probably hit her or something. And then Gemma's mom like scares him away. And you think, oh, she's crying, like something. She get herself in a bad position. And then she's just laughing. And then they go to the apartment and they like, gossip about everything that happened. And it's like, and the movie's trying to say like, look at these dangerous lives these women are living, like compared to like what Gemma's living around. And I'm like, well, I mean,
compared to the systematic racism that exists
yeah.
in Twilight.
I'd rather her be around that than a racist town and a racist grandfather, personally.
Yeah.
That's just me, though.
Also, she goes to a Baptist church, by the way.
Right.
And I was like, ah, cool. So she's like super indoctrinated.
Yeah. It's such a weird inverse like setup for this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That everything that you're like kind of compelled by the movie is like, this is bad.
I think we got to get into
because
Lowe.
Fucking Rob Lowe walks into the hairstylist.
So they're at the hair salon. She's getting taught how to do a manicure, and in comes Rory, played by Rob Lowe.
Yes.
Who is a mentally disabled person.
Yes.
Playing a mentally disabled person, and it is the like Hollywood like.
I'm sorry, the way you phrased that sounded like a mental disabled person playing a mentally disabled. I'm like, Jesus Christ, the dig on Rob Lowe. Fuck.
But it's the Hollywood like generally mentally like
disabled ableist.
Yeah. Like it's just like the Hollywood like general. Just it's there.
Yeah.
And it like not anything specific. Trying. Not to be like super duper ableist, I feel like, but still.
Well, and it's no accident. The first thing he does when he walks in the salon is he creeps on like some customers.
Yeah.
And like Gwen, who at least the film's trying to say, it's like Gwen's used to Rory, and it's like, Rory, stop bothering my customers or whatever. And then that's when he opens his mouth, and I'm not gonna replicate the voice he does.
So I describe this as like very Forrest Gump adjacent.
Yes.
Like even in terms of just like his tone of voice and stuff, it like if you were watching a scene from this, you would think that Rob Lowe is just doing an impersonation of Tom Hanks doing Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
It's more Rain Man-y, I feel like. It's like because what you were saying is like he walks in and the movie's like, we want you to tell this guy's disabled. You know how we're going to tell you? He walks in like hunched over, mouth open, carrying a fiddle.
Yeah.
Like, this guy disabled.
Yeah. like clearly this guy is not one of us, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay.
And they like treat him like not a person.
Yeah. They're
The
like
whole time.
They treat him like a dog that
Yes.
wandered in, and they're like, "Oh, it's just Rory again."
It's just Rory. Rory, here's your mom's hair. Don't stop anywhere on the way home. Just take this straight home.
Oh my God.
It's so, and it says a lot. Like he gets nominated for a Golden Globe for this performance, and it says so much. Like that, because they did the same with Hoffman and Rain Man. Like Hollywood is like, this is great representation that we're having like these esteemed actors
Who are not mentally handicapped.
represent this group, and it's like it's offensive what they're doing.
Yeah.
They aren't playing these people as he's not playing Rory as a person. He's playing Rory as like
As a bit.
as a mental handicap personified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Travolta in fucking Moose.
The Fanatic. He's
Trump.
It is the same performance
yeah,
as the
Travolta.
Fanatic.
Did I say Trump? For
You
a
did
minute
say
there?
Trump.
Well, sorry. Travolta in the Fanatic. Very much
Yes.
so. But Gemma and Rory start a relationship.
They do.
And it's really creepy on a lot of different levels.
Because she's 13.
He's 21.
He's 21. But the movie would have you believe because he has the mind of like a 10-year-old, it's fine.
Right. So they start playing house together.
Yes.
Oh,
At-
it always starts there.
At Rory's what's it called? Trailer
Yeah.
home. Where Gemma just starts cooking him things, and it just smash cuts to this. It
Yes.
doesn't
There's no setup.
there's no setup. They
Oh, yeah.
briefly meet at the salon. Rory gets sent on his way, and then it just cuts later to that scene.
Yes.
And it doesn't set it up at all, and all of a sudden we're just watching them playing house.
Yeah.
And
this is less playing house and more just she is at his house working and making stuff. That's not playing
they
house.
also pretend to have kids.
Yeah.
And he pretends to go to work and then comes back and is like, yeah, I went to work, my hours changed and stuff like that, right? They are just living this doing fantasy. And then at some point the line is just dropped where they're just getting real close to each other, and then she's just like, did you know Jesus is your Lord and Savior? And he kind of freaks out over that.
Yeah.
And it starts to imply that he had gotten tried to get some sort of help, and that it did not go well.
Yeah. He tried to get help. It didn't go well. At the same time, we're getting intercut scenes with her mom teaching Winona about she's like, well, I know it hasn't happened to you yet, but you'll be a woman soon, and watch out for boys because I had you when I was very young. And they have this semi-abortion discussion about did you want to have me, and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
But then we never pick up that thread again.
And
No,
it was
not
such
at
a
all.
good
Yeah.
beginning of a scene
Yeah.
with no middle and end though.
It's a good inkling of an idea.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the whole movie. It's you start to have a good scene, and then it just cuts to a different scene.
It cuts
Yeah.
to Rob Lowe wandering around the house. My hours changed.
Oh.
It cuts to Rob Lowe saying, "Oops, I seen me a Mexican."
Oh my God.
Yes.
And then there's a scene where he suggests that we should get married. And Winona's like, okay.
And then they kiss.
And then they kiss. And then she does eventually, not cave, but she is kind of like, I'm going to take care of you. And
Yeah.
Also, that the first playing house scene is so long.
It
doesn't
is.
because that's when they go through they discuss cooking, and then he goes to work and he comes back and they eat the food and everything that could possibly happen in the scene occurs.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of, I mean, I know there's probably lots of stuff in between that we're missing, but my mind immediately goes to the last conversation between her and her mom that makes her move back.
Yeah.
And I know there's probably stuff I'm missing, but
There's a lot of stuff you're missing.
We got to
Yeah.
talk about they go square dancing at some point.
Oh yeah.
And
I
she
really
square dances with Rory. And then Rory is mad that she won't have sex with him. Is that the plot development?
Not, I don't know. It's kind of hard to grasp at certain points. I'm not gonna lie.
It is.
There's a siren.
Yeah.
There's a siren.
Great.
So this is a perfect point for me to look at my notes and remember where we are.
Because, like, basically she comes back to Rory's trailer, and sees movement.
Oh yeah, I forgot
and
about this.
She actually finds this at the hair salon.
Yeah,
she has
so-
a fight with her mom.
Yeah, she had a huge fight with her mom.
Then they end up. Mom goes to go like clubbing.
Yeah.
So okay. I do remember the plot elements that we're forgetting. They are actually important, so we should talk about them.
Yes.
So husband or boyfriend of mom.
Oh yeah, the oil.
Gets duped into buying land in Texas for oil prospecting.
I did not remember.
And the mom's like, "We're gonna be rich."
Yeah, and they're so happy that they're going to be rich. And this is like around the point where like the relationship with Rory is starting.
Yes.
That this happens.
Yeah.
I remember specifically a scene where Gwen, right? That's the friend.
Yeah.
Tells Gemma's mom that like the whole Rory thing is fucking weird.
Yes. She's like, "Oh, they're just kids." It's like, well, he's 21.
And then she does say something along the lines of like, at some point you're going to surpass him like mentally. Like they do like the mom is very much like, this is okay because you guys are in like
the same
maturity level.
Like,
yeah.
What?
Like that's like it's fucked up.
I did not pay attention to this movie. I'm so
Then
sorry.
The mom gets in a fight
Yes.
with a husband,
Because
boyfriend,
there is no oil.
because turns out there was no oil.
He just bought a bunch of land.
He just bought a bunch of land. They're broke, and like Winona Ryder, Gemma is like trying to sleep on the couch when like they break out into this fight, and she just comes storming in with the Bible into the middle of the fight and is like reading Bible passages at them to get them to stop fighting.
And that's when she storms out to the salon, right?
Right. She storms out to the salon where she discovers Rory and Gwen
Yes, going at it.
And I thought she killed Gwen with the Bible. She hits Gwen with the Bible.
Well, her head goes through the fucking drywall.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that she just bumps her head and doing like that. No, it goes through the drywall and she's stuck in that position.
Yeah, she just stays there. And it was so weird. Because at one point, actually, to clarify, Gwen like sees them like kissing at one point in like the salon.
Yeah.
Which is what I guess
I would just like
gets
to
her to like want to
really
do
quick just watch the effect of her head hitting the drywall. Folks, it's so clearly a dummy that they're just right into the wall.
Yeah, I thought she fucking killed her with the Bible.
It almost seemed that way.
It-
and she thought she did.
Yeah.
Right? Because isn't the next scene she's by the ambulance and Rory gets carted in?
Right. So
Why did he get carted in?
so she goes back home. Her mom wakes her up and is like, "You're in trouble. They found they found your Bible here, and they found like
Rory's dick.
no, they found they found shears like hair shears,
I'm sorry.
like bloody hair shears, and she was like real confused about that, and she like puts two and two together. Rory literally tried to cut his own dick off.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I love Gemma and I did this thing, so I need to like
Seek atonement.
right.
And then she has this like meeting with Rory in the ambulance where she's like, "It's okay." He's like, "That's good."
Yeah,
and we
they like
never see him again.
then she leaves, and then like mom is like, you need to leave.
She really is, though.
She's literally like, you need to leave, and she's like putting up a fight about leaving. And then like she's gonna just like make her like, she's like, okay, fine, I'm gonna like go live wherever I want. But then like it doesn't really like. It just kind of cuts to her being okay with leaving.
Yeah. Like, we don't get to... the only emotional arc we get of this character is because of Winona, in spite of the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell emotionally where she's at, but you don't understand why she's emotionally at these places. Because she, like, storms out and she's like, I'm going home. And she has this kind of nice farewell with Frank. Where he's like, I guess I'm going to West Texas. Got a bunch of land out there.
I gotta sell this land
that I just bought. By the way, that is the end of the Rob Lowe plot line, that we see him in the ambulance. We never see him again. We are told he might never be let out of prison.
Oh yeah. They're like, like he's gonna like. They insinuate they're gonna send him to like an asylum.
Yes,
because of the hand shears thing, or because
he tried to maim himself.
Well, because I was wondering how old Gemma was in the entire movie.
She's 13.
Yeah, Gemma, or no, sorry, not Gemma.
Gwen. I have no idea.
Gwen's probably older, but not that much older. Like maybe like 16.
Yeah, I feel like she's between 16 and 18. Like,
because I thought there was gonna be like, that was a statutory rape thing. That was where my brain was heading. I was like, oh shit.
It looks like Jeff is looking it up.
How old is Gwen in the movie Square Dance?
I am attempting to figure that out. Deborah Richter. Okay, there's no information about her birth year or anything, so I cannot tell.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, but so it just, the movie just kind of hits this like, the beginning felt really fast paced, right?
Yeah.
It just like kept cutting to different scenes without like resolving them, and it just was like a really weirdly placed. Then like the middle kind of drags, and then the end, it's the same thing, where like we just don't get actual resolutions to anything. It's just like cuts to different scenes where things are happening.
Because she shows up, Beecham's alive.
Beecham's alive.
And I didn't even clock how he was alive. I thought it was mistaken identity or some shit like that. Like, but I guess he was there. Yeah, that was fucking bonkers to me.
So the mom agrees to drive her. She like opens the window, is like,
yeah.
I'm sorry, and comes down and is like, I'll drive you home to Grandpa, my dad.
Yeah.
So they drive back. And this is when I'm like, okay, I see where this movie is going to end. It's going to end with the family reconnecting. And
the
like
whole
that,
family.
The whole family reconnecting.
Yeah.
And it does go for like the quote unquote more realistic choice, which is in concept interesting. Because, there aren't like necessarily clean, family dynamics always.
Right.
Where like they pull up and the grandpa sees the car and he like goes out to greet Gwen or Gemma, and he's very, surprised to see their mom there. And kind of doesn't really know how to interact with her because it's been so long since they had spoken. And I'm sure all of us have those people in our family where it's like they haven't spoken for a while, and like these are awkward reintroductions. And the movie does nothing to capitalize on it because like he's like, how are you? And she's like, maybe I'll be around here more if Gemma comes back. And then she gets in the car and drives off.
Yep.
That's like the scene.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, we're not, that's it?
And then also Grandpa's hostile towards Gemma.
Yeah.
Like, he acts like he's like, it just puts them right back at square one.
Yeah.
With the same relationship.
And she only discovers that Grandpa has changed slightly when Beecham wanders in.
Yeah.
She's like, I thought you were dead. And he's like, nah, Homer got me out. He came back.
And Homer was in this movie for about like 20 minutes total, and had the most character development out of everyone in this movie.
The implication that I like seems to be that Beecham got crushed by a pile of trash. Winona and Grandpa drove off. Winona then ran away. Grandpa, after about 10 hours, came back to the site, dug through, and found him. Because he does say, like, I put myself in a state where I survived for 15 hours. He does say that.
Yeah.
It's very strange. And she's like, oh, it's great. Grandpa does have a heart. And then Beecham goes outside and starts playing his harmonica as Winona and Grandpa try and connect.
square dance again.
Well, first she's like, do you mind if I read my Bible? And he's like, no, that's fine. You can do that. And then she closes the book and is like, let's square dance like we used to. And then they square dance.
And that's the end of the movie.
The movie ends. If any of that made sense to you, the listener at home, let us know, because it did not make sense to us.
Not in the slightest. Not in the slightest.
No, it's a movie where just stuff kind of happened.
Yes.
Like,
kinda is the key word there.
And there's like a bunch of like interesting plot points that it tries to set up that I actually like. If they like, each one of those plot points could have been its own movie.
Yeah. Right?
Like going from small town, religious town into big city and like dealing with big city things could have been an interesting movie. The whole like racism thing could have made an interesting movie. Even like there's like even a movie that could have been written revolving around the relationship between Rory and Gemma. I don't think I wouldn't have been comfortable with that movie, but like a movie could have been written about that relationship.
There could have been a movie about the dichotomy between Gemma and Gwen.
Right. Like,
which was never.
There's so much there that just like nothing actually gets developed. Like the only thing that fundamentally changes is Homer's like slightly nicer, I guess.
Yes.
Rory kind of has like no point.
Yeah, it's just so that we can, feel bad for him.
Right. And it's like it doesn't cause Gemma to change as a person, which is like where you would think that story is going.
Mm.
That would cause Gemma to like grow up or like have to deal with something, but like she just goes right back to where she was, unchanged. There's like no theme, really.
Yeah.
It just felt like they were just afraid to commit to any one story.
Yeah, because and I'm not saying this is a good movie, but the idea here is like a story about how you leave your hometown and discover that you had what you wanted all along. It's a story that's been told many times before. A lot of movies, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I've seen movies with that idea.
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, it's the Wizard of Oz.
It's a perfect example. Yeah,
perfect. Thank you. That's a perfect example of this. And this movie is like, but what if we did that without really doing anything? What if we didn't do that? She just like comes home at the end and then she's like, well, maybe I'll go back to the city at some point.
Right. They're like, oh, she's going to be a fish out of water in the city, but then she's not a fish out of water. She very quickly adapts to being in the city. Like it never commits to any one plot, and the performances are pretty good.
Yeah. It's anchored by 3 strong performances and 1 active war crime.
But like just everything revolving around them is just wrong.
Yes.
Production. I mean, the production stuff's like fine. It's whatever. It's it takes place at the time that.
Yeah, it's like mostly location shooting.
Right, so it's like there's not much you're doing there. It's like there's nothing like super inspiring about it, but like it doesn't have to be. There's the editing is like super weird, super clumsily edited.
It's made Daniel Petrie, who directed this movie, is like the ultimate journeyman, which might even be too kind. He just like has directed a lot of movies that no one's ever heard of. A lot of episodes of TV and a lot of like television films. Yeah. Like very prolific career. I'm sure he was very successful. I'm sure he had a happy life and he is proud of his work, and that's great for him. But like
I'm not proud of his work though.
Yeah, it's just like one of those things where it's like he just made movies to make movies. And yeah, it's coincidental that he ended up kind of kickstarting Winona Ryder's career.
Right, like. It just feels like complete accident.
Yes, that happens to be the result of this movie. But overall, just kind of a movie.
Yeah.
The only like value of it is that it does, give Winona a platform in a leading role and give her all these opportunities to learn about, like the technical aspects of filming and kind of discover her style in a safe space. Because she does discover her style in this movie, and that can't be understated.
And I've been thinking a lot about going from this movie to Beetlejuice, and I've yet to been able to fathom what happened between this movie and Beetlejuice. Because from what I mean, it's been a while since I've seen Beetlejuice, but from what I remember, it's like night and day performance-wise.
Well, quite literally, in that she is a character of the day, and in Beetlejuice, she is the character of the night.
Right. I just like I'm very interested to know like if this movie really was a movie that taught her all the lessons, she would be able to become like who she is in Beetlejuice. I mean, like, great, that's fantastic, and from what you've said in the podcast is very compelling. I just haven't been able to fathom yet.
It's kind of, if you look at Lucas, this and Beetlejuice is like a triptych. Kind of like the development is like Lucas is where she like just learns acting on a camera. Like that is just what that movie is. It's the first time doing it.
Say it on camera, yeah.
This is the movie where she learns how to act in front of a camera. And then Beetlejuice is kind of the movie where she learns how to do my style of acting, how to just play a character to the fullest extent.
Yeah.
And it's, a lot of actors take much longer than 3 movies to figure that out.
No shit.
And I'm sure jumping from Daniel Petrie in this movie to Tim Burton is a very big shift. 'Cause Burton is so stylized and specific in his, directorial style.
I mean, you could argue that this is stylized.
You could definitely argue that.
Could.
Not sure it's a compelling argument, but you could make it.
I mean, have you seen any other one of this guy's movies?
Daniel Petrie?
Yeah.
No, I have not seen Cocoon: The Return.
What if they're all just like this and this is just his style?
All right, Stuart, we're doing the Cocoon cast. We're watching Cocoon and Cocoon: The Return. We're talking about them.
Who directed the first Cocoon?
Ron Howard.
No shit.
Yeah. Everyone loves Cocoon. America has Cocoon fever. No, Cocoon is good. Cocoon is good. Stuart, I do want to quickly say Daniel Petrie had 2 sons. One of them was named Daniel Petrie Jr. He directed In the Army Now, a movie that we've talked about on this show.
Wow. Talk about nepotism.
Yeah. His other son, Donald, was mostly a TV director, and he directed an episode of Chicago PD several years ago.
You don't say.
Yeah.
So we are 1 degree...
2 degrees of
2 degrees removed from this movie as well.
There we go. We're all very connected to this movie inexplicably.
Somehow, yeah. Wow, that's kind of crazy.
Yes. So this movie comes out after being filmed. It opens at Sundance.
Yeah.
Which is the weird thing.
Yeah, like if this movie can get into Sundance, then like why hasn't any other movie I've worked on gotten into Sundance?
And it's not only that this is in Sundance, it opens it. It's like the opening night presentation is Square Dance.
That's fucked.
Winona's like on stage giving like an address before this movie.
Wow. Her second movie.
Yes.
Poor soul.
And I'm sure like
Hi, my name's Winona Ryder. I'm in this movie. I hope you like it.
And so like I'm sure that this movie opening Sundance, people probably had big hopes for it. It comes out, basically nobody really has any major thoughts in this movie. Like Ebert says it's a weary morality play. It sinks under the weight of its good intentions. People are like, it's kind of like candy, just sweet, empty calories.
But that one little guy, Rob Lowe, I mean, that man has
he gets a Golden Globe nomination
that man
for
has
Best
a
Supporting
promising acting career. Fuck.
And then financially, this is the biggest success we're ever going to talk about on this show. It's filmed for a budget of $4 million, and it makes $225,000.
Oh.
It makes one. I'm doing the math. I'm doing the mental math here. 1/16 of its budget back.
Nice.
1/16.
But
it loses $3.75 million.
But Daniel Petrie went on to do a lot more.
Yeah, because he was probably filmed 7 movies by the time this thing comes out.
Yeah.
This thing is such a notorious stinker, box office wise, that it basically gets retrofitted into a TV movie a year later, where it's retitled as "Home Is Where the Heart Is." And it kind of it dies as a TV movie. That probably airs on NBC once every 7 months, at 1 a.m. nowadays.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the end of the impact of this movie. The only real impact is the Winona kind of leapfrog that it gives.
Yeah. Right. It's good shit.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
Oh, I do want to quickly say that the one other thing this movie does do is that because it screens at Sundance, a lot of casting agents see this movie.
Oh. Well.
And that is what leads to Beetlejuice basically immediately after this.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to bring up that casting call because I'm going to talk more about it next week when
Yeah.
we're delving into Beetlejuice.
Right.
But I do think that is everything I have to say about the motion picture Square Dance.
Matt, any final thoughts?
I was looking to see if I had final thoughts. I kind of don't. Another crew fun fact from me.
Yes.
The stills photographer is Zaid Rosenthal. Has probably the most successful career out of everyone on the crew.
Mm-hmm.
Is also the stills photographer on Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, on like most of the MCU films, on Jurassic Park, on Terminator and T2, and on the Tim Burton Batman movies.
No
Crazy.
Shit.
Also, as you said that, I was looking at stills from like the still photography of this movie. It's more compelling than the movie itself.
It really is.
Like that's these are just on the IMDb photos, folks. It's just like kind of compelling images of Winona with the other actors of this movie in character.
It's good shit. It's good shit.
Look, doesn't that look like a much better movie than the one that we got?
Yeah.
Isn't there promise in that image?
What's the name?
Zaid Rosenthal.
Zaid Rosenthal. Good photo, Zaid.
Good for you, Zaid.
Good photos.
Oh, here we go. Here's Rob. Rob Lowe, who would go on to have a prolific career, getting fired from The West Wing, and then voicing Simba in The Lion King, Lion Guard on Disney XD.
Hey, don't you forget he was also in Parks and Recreation.
He was in Parks and Recreation, and he was in 2 Austin Powers movies, one of which we talked about. He's in a lot of stuff. He has a successful career. I'm not here to bemoan Rob Lowe's career, but
he has a whole store named after him.
This is a active war crime he's committing every time he walks on screen in this movie, and he should not be allowed to
whoever owns this movie, can you guys just send me the raw footage and I'll recut it?
Please do.
Please.
Daniel Petrie Jr., if you're out there, send us the footage.
Just give me the footage. I can make it better.
Daniel Petrie himself is dead, but his son, if you have it, let us know. We'd love to work on it. But I do think that is that's everything we got to say about Square Dance.
Yeah. All right.
Take
Take us home, Jeff.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode on Square Dance. We hope you enjoyed. Make sure to tune in next week for, as promised, Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice.
Don't say it anymore.
Say what?
You're playing with fire. Don't say it 3 times. But, in the meantime, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. As a reminder, we're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Pop into our Reddit, r/Travolting. Find us on Twitter or Instagram at TravoltingPod. TravoltingPodcast@gmail.com. If you've got anything you want to email us. Find me on Twitter at Jeff W. Sweeney. Anything you guys want to plug?
If anyone is looking for an editor, I am looking for work.
Aren't we all? I have nothing to plug.
Cool. Well,
Do not follow me on Twitter, please.
Then finally, special thanks to Rebecca Johnson for our graphic design and Michael Van Modingham Smith for our theme music, and Matt Abalde for his visitation today.
Keeping the podcast alive.
Keeping the podcast factual.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
See you next week for Beetlejuice.
What? Did you say it again?
I said,
That's the third time.
no, it wasn't.
That was the third time.
No, you guys said it in sequence.
You said Beetlejuice.
Did I?
Yeah.
What?